Welcome to the Rotary Big Ideas podcast, where we celebrate big ideas that are sparking positive change in Ottawa and around the world. I'm your host, Bashir Bastien, and on each episode, we meet a change maker and their big idea. Today, we welcome Gina St.Amour. She's the Executive Director of the Ottawa Rotary Home. Recognized with awards like the Paul Harris Fellowship, Gina continues to advocate for improved support services. Welcome to the podcast today, Gina. What is your big idea?
Thanks, Bashir. Appreciate having me today. I'm very excited to share a little bit about the Ottawa Rotary Home. And I guess to summarize, our big idea is that the Ottawa Rotary Home exists to help individuals with disabilities to live and thrive in their communities. I don't know if you know, Bashir, but we've been around since 1982. So we've been a long-standing organization within the Ottawa community. But we were started by a group of Rotarians because they saw a need for individuals with disabilities, for their families to have support so that the children could stay at home with their moms and dads. Back in the days in the 60s, 70s, if an individual with a disability was born, oftentimes doctors would recommend that they go live in institutions. And what was decided at that time was that families really didn't want this option anymore. They wanted to keep their children at home no matter what their disability was, but they needed some support. So the Rotary Home started with some respite supports for children under the age of 18 back in 82. And we've just continued to grow and grow and grow our program since that time. So now we not only support children with physical disabilities, we have a complex special needs program for children. We have adult day programs, we have adult respite programs, and we now offer permanent residential services to individuals with disabilities.
So what inspired that big idea of yours?
I think it came from, in all honesty, the families. The families that we work with are so passionate and dedicated and committed to their children that it just continues to drive our organization to do more and to respond to the needs that are out there in our community. The Rotary Home is a little bit unique because we really bring together both physical health supports and health services supports with the world of disability and developmental disabilities. So that makes us a bit unique because since 2001, we've actually had nursing staff within our programs. So not only do we have developmental services workers and personal support workers, but we have registered practical nurses and registered nurses to really help us ensure that the health needs of those individuals that come through our doors are taken care of. Because just because they have a physical disability doesn't mean that we should ignore the health need. We actually have to treat and combine plans of care so that the whole person is supported in a really well-rounded and holistic way.
I like that you mentioned the word unique. It does really sound unique.
It's funny to say that, Bashir. Most recently, someone had used the analogy with us. They said, you're kind of like a boutique hotel. And I was like, what? And they're like, well, you really specialize in bringing and bridging health services and disability services together to have the best outcomes for people possible. And so that's always been a bit of our passion to do so. And what we've wanted to do, because that's what we've always done, but we realized that we are unique in that not a lot of the other organizations in the Ottawa area, or even across the province actually, offer this type of blended health and disability service. So at that point, we thought, well, what can we do? So at one point, we got together a very collaborative partnership model with a number of organizations in our area who said, look, we don't have nursing supports, but our individuals are aging, they're going into hospital, they're coming out of hospital, and they need specialized treatments and services. Rotary Home, can you help us? And we're like, of course, there's a need. We will do our best to help you. So they actually came together and funded a direct support nurse who now travels to all the homes to meet the individuals, to get to know them, monitor, assess, provide interventions so that the individual, and this is our primary mission, continues to live where they want to live as long as it makes sense and it's safe to do so. So these agencies that don't have the nursing staff, and really, historically, if this would have happened, individuals would have had to probably move to a long-term care institution. They would have had to left their home and live somewhere else just to have that one component of their new lifestyle that they need. And so now our nurse goes around and travels to a variety of different homes and provides that care and intervention. And we've really found not only is it helping to the quality of life for that individual, but what it's also doing is it's helping with reducing emergency room visits. We're helping when the person comes home with a new procedure or something special like catheterization or insulin requirement. We're able to facilitate that transition much faster and ensure training takes place for the individuals and the paid staff that work in those organizations.
I'm gonna circle back to what you mentioned, the blended health and disability service that you provide. So I think that comes with a unique set of challenges. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you face to implement this type of service?
Really good question. So it is challenging because all of our systems, whether it's healthcare, education, Ministry of Community and Children's Services, we all work a little bit in silos. So bridging them can be quite challenging. And so some of the challenges that we face are that we really advocate strongly for equitable services and equitable healthcare services. But oftentimes an individual with a disability and or their family is unable to properly articulate exactly what the need is or what the problem is or what the challenge they're facing, whether because they're nonverbal or they may be exhibiting behaviors that say there's something wrong. But unless you really listen to that individual and get to know them, you have a hard time diagnosing. And so that's where we feel Rotary Home has done a really unique job, is that our nurse not only just looks at the health piece and the health issue that we're facing right in front of us, but we get to know the individual first. We get to know the environment in which they live. They get to know the things that make them happy, make them sad, what are their strengths. And then by understanding that whole individual, are we able to better assess what the health need is and then knock on the right door? Because sometimes if you just knock on a door, you show up at an emergency room, unfortunately, they're so pressed. There's so much, challenge of emergency room visits right now because the time and the wait time. If it takes you more than 10 minutes to talk about what the problem is, you might not get the attention you need. So our nursing staff that support the workers and support the individual to go into the hospital, for example, has an opportunity to synthesize all the data they've gathered already to walk in and to show a really good picture of what the problem could be and to find a treatment path much quicker and much more efficient.
Wow, that is just amazing. And you mentioned growth. I'm gonna, get back to KPIs a little later, but
Okay.
how does that play out for nurses who have to go to those patients? How hard is this?
They love it. That's a popular program that we have at the Ottawa Rotary Home because you get to meet so many unique people. You get to know them with everything that they're facing in their life. But most of the time, what you get to hear about, because we take a very person-centered approach, is their strength. So what are they coming at with the positivity in terms of the issues that they're facing? And we focus on that as a starting point. In our world of developmental services, we do lots of person-centered planning. So we bridge that person-centered planning and look at the health needs. It's just one component, but there's many other needs of an individual. They could have recreational needs. They could have volunteer, employment. They could have friends and loved ones. So when we look at the whole plan, then we can see how can we best tackle the health support need within that range of supports that exists around that person. So it's exciting because it's never the same. Obviously, you're going in, a nurse goes in with their skills and their assessment, but they're also taking into effect everything else that's going around that person to see what might be going on.
So since 1982, I'm pretty sure you've seen things, you've experienced things. I think part of what's important with that kind of work that you're doing is, you feel it's meaningful to you. So I'd like to know if is there any particular story that, made you want to keep doing this that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I think one of the other big ideas that our whole philosophy has led us to is that we started a social enterprise. And the social enterprise is a sort of a business that we operate that encapsulates all the learnings that we've had from our bridging health and disability services. So what we realized really quickly is that one traveling nurse that was going out cannot help train all the paid caregivers out there. It's not possible. There's a lot of folks that are out there in our sector that work. And so what we realized is that we need to create some sort of training system, because as these individuals age, they're going to have more health support needs. But with one nurse, it's not going to be able to do justice to be able to ensure everybody has the best quality care. So the social enterprise was a creation of a training program that has a variety of different modules that helps to train the paid caregivers that are in a lot of these different organizations across Ontario in whatever they're looking for to best help support that person come back home. So for example, if you yourself went into hospital and suddenly you had diabetes and you needed to go home, you'd have a nurse come into your home and train you on how to do an insulin injection and how to ensure you monitor properly. But what happens in environments where there's paid caregiving staff is there's multiple staff. There's many, many individuals that are there. So our training platform actually creates the modules with both theory and then hands-on training so that we can reach many, many more individuals so that staff are trained. So to get back to, what your question was, what are some of your most wonderful stories, is that we've really been able to bridge a win-win-win situation. So the win for the individual, as they go back home with this new treatment requirement, is that they're getting the best possible care because the staff have followed a standardized training program. The staff have a win because now they've benefited in their professional development. The staff say to us, when we first piloted this many years ago, it was about 10 years ago now, the biggest compliments we had were the staff now had more confidence. They felt equipped to respond to the needs of the individual they were supporting, and that the agency itself was finding a sustainable solution that they could maintain so that as individuals age, they know that they can continue to support them at home if it's safe. So it really was that win-win-win that we heard when we piloted, where agencies felt they finally found a solution that was cost-effective and sustainable. The staff were able to say, wow, we can do this. And I'm learning new skills and I'm better equipped to support the individual, and the individual is coming home with better outcomes.
That is just amazing. So you mentioned a training platform, because one of the things that we do in this podcast is we do sales pitch. So is there a way for us where the audience could go and then have access to that training platform?
Absolutely. Our social enterprise is called Community Support Training Solutions. And we have a website, of course, that describes what the whole purpose of it, how we started, why we started. And then within that website, there's all the different modules or training options that an individual, an agency, a family might be interested in. And even though we started in the Ottawa area, now we support agencies across the province that use our platform, that get the training for the staff, because it's self-paced training. It provides a certification. It really gives the agencies what they need to know that they're providing the best care for their individuals. The benefit of our social enterprise as well is not only does it have those 3 wins that we talk about, but because it's social enterprise, the funds that we do make from that program that we offer, it goes back into our adult respite program.
That is amazing. So I have a landmark question. I've left it all the way till now.
Okay.
Would you like to, because you did start by summarizing what you do, your big idea. However, I still want to hear you say this into 5 word or less. I'm sure you're ready. Audience want to hear you.
Okay, the 5 words is a tough one for me. As you can tell, I like to chat. But I would think overall, it's equitable health supports wherever you live. That's 6. But I think that's what we're trying to say, is that everybody, particularly individuals with disabilities, deserve to have health supports in their own homes. That's where Rotary Home stands.
Beautiful. We'll take 6 words. Thank
Okay,
you.
wonderful. Thank you.
So now we are in December. It's 2024. We're getting into 2025. So what are your vision for the next year or the next 2 years? Would you like to share that with us?
You know, we never have small ideas. As you can imagine, Rotary and Rotary clubs tend to go big. Without having it finalized, I think we recognize that there's a significant housing issue in the Ottawa area, particularly for those with disabilities. There is not a lot of accessible housing that has support services for individuals. So we are very fortunate. We do have a large area of land, and right in front of our present location on Rotary Way, we have the possibility to build something. And so I think within the next 3 to 5 years, we'd be looking to see is how could we meld housing and support services, considering people with disabilities, but we are really all about inclusion. So it's really about how can we best meet the needs in our community in true, Rotary style of service above self, and use partnerships and collaboration to do so. So we will continue to look at how we can meet those needs. We will continue to drive our social enterprise, the community support training solutions, because it's expanding. Not only is it agencies with individuals with disabilities and developmental disabilities, but we have long-term care homes now reaching out and saying, I think we could do a better job at supporting the healthcare needs, even of those individuals who live in our residence. We have daycares that are reaching out and saying, you know what, we'd really like to welcome a little girl who has a G-tube, but we don't know how to do that. Can you help us? So obviously those are two key areas where we're going to continue to grow and expand so that we can respond to what not only the Ottawa area, but also the province is looking for.
I don't know if you have any last word you'd like to share, something you haven't shared you'd like to share with the audience.
Well, I think we would just love to say we have been so fortunate to have the Rotary connection. So when we expanded from our original small bungalow location and we built a 20,000 square foot home on Rotary Way, that was because all of the Rotary clubs in the Ottawa area got together and said that we are going to help raise the money to make this happen. The Rotary clubs have been outstanding partner in the services we offer. They've done events, we've had fly days, they've supported amazing races, the wine and whiskey. So we've done a variety of things in partnership, and we just look forward to that, continuing that partnership, because Rotary clubs really, your philosophy really does match where the Rotary Home sits.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here today, Gina. Hope to hear from you again.
Thanks, Bashir. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you for listening and watching. And keep in mind, if you want to make a difference or have a big idea to help others, Rotary is a great organization to connect with and become part of. Check us out. Until next time then, when I ask, what's your big idea?